Say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it. The question is that clauses 1, 2 and 3 stand part. Honourable Marianne Street.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I wish to speak to clauses 1 and 2 in particular in this part. There are things that I wish to say about the fact that this bill is being progressed under urgency. I do not lay the blame for that at the door of the Minister in charge of the bill. It is clear in Clause 2 that the commencement of parts of this bill are from the 1st of April 2010. So it is important that the legislation is passed in time for that to happen. We are sitting under urgency on Tuesday the 23rd of February. It's actually the 25th outside this House. But under urgency, of course, time stops on the day that urgency is accorded. The point about urgency is that it should be used sparingly. It should be used for matters that really require it, and it should be used for matters that are, in fact, urgent. There is time between now and the 1st of April to address this issue, to see this piece of legislation through to its conclusion. But no, the government has chosen to put this into urgency, even though the first time this bill was presented to the House, it was August of last year, and the second time it was presented to the House was November of last year. And here we are in the committee stages at the end of February under urgency, and it is completely plain to everybody that this has simply been a subterfuge for the government to excuse itself from at least one question time this week. So urgency was not essential, and it has been applied, and this is one of the few bills, in fact, that has, in this clause, in Clause 2, has a reference to a date that I perfectly understand as being an essential date for the application, particularly of taxation legislation, the 1st of April 2010. But it could have been managed differently. I say that that is not the fault of the Minister in charge of the bill, but it is directly the fault of the Leader of the House, who determines what the agenda of the House is at any one time. At any one time. And this is a sign again of a deal of incompetence that we have seen coming from the government in even managing a simple bill which the Minister introduced to the House in perfectly good time. It went to a select committee, was properly considered by the Education and Science Select Committee, was reported back in November of last year, and since then the Leader of the House has been unable to bring it through in reasonable and measured way in time for it to be implemented by the 1st of April. And Mr Chairman, this is a notice to every Minister in the Cabinet that they need to take their Leader of the House aside and say, we will not be made fools of in this way. They need to weigh up whether being protected from question time is worth being made fools of in terms of parliamentary procedure. So, Mr Chairman, Clause 2, the commencement clause, is apposite, and it is entirely reasonable to make some comment upon the progress and process surrounding this bill in this way. I want to go to the title of the bill. The bill is called the Act, as it will be, will be named the Student Loan Scheme (brackets Exemptions and Miscellaneous Provisions) close brackets Amendment Act 2009. It should perhaps be named, Mr. Chairman, the Student Loan Scheme (brackets Exemption and Mr. Chairman.
Marianne Street.
It should perhaps be named the Student Loan Scheme (brackets Exemptions and Miscellaneous Provisions) close brackets for now Amendment Act 2009, because it's not entirely clear whether or not this legislation will survive subsequent legislation which the government may have in mind to narrow, restrict, shut down and make less accessible student loans and allowances, because that is what we have had signalled by the Prime Minister in his prime ministerial statement at the beginning of this parliamentary year, and it is what we have had underscored since then by the new Minister for Tertiary Education, the Honourable Stephen Joyce. Stephen Joyce is a man who does what he says he will do, and he is a man who clearly has plans for his portfolios. So let's see, with the now glaring exception, my colleague reminds us, of telecommunications and the rollout of broadband. However, let us assume that he does have a plan for student loans, and let us hope that this bill does not run foul of that. So let us hope that what endures after the Minister Stephen Joyce has finished with student allowances is access to with student loans and allowances, is access to those loans and allowances still extended to Tokelau, still extended to the Cook Islands, still extended to citizens of Niue, and still extended to those who might one day live on the Ross dependency, and in the meantime the penguins who currently inhabit that part of the realm of New Zealand. So this, Mr. Chairman, I beg your pardon, while it says it is a Student Loan Scheme Exemptions and Miscellaneous Provisions Amendment Act, I would suggest is in fact an act for now.
Mr. Chair.